and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world. It's time to experience the O's on the Original Sports Podcast.
Hey, Youngie, what's up, my man?
It's good. It's Friday.
It's happy hour. It's happy hour. I'm happy.
Yeah, it's my hour.
Yeah.
Seniors are gone. Seniors are gone. 3 weeks.
Hey, listen, we got a 3-day weekend, baby. Summer's right around the corner.
We are in summer mode.
Yes, sir. You coming out the crib tomorrow?
Better believe it.
Yeah. What time you gonna be here?
I'll bring my bathing suit and swimming floaties.
Okay. Things kick off at 4.
4?
Yeah. The chicken's marinated. The burgers are thawing.
Might have to get there a little early because I know the beer will be gone quick.
I hit Sam's Club today, dropped a cool 150 on like odds and ends because everything else was bought.
Why don't the Sam's and Costco's up here sell beer like they do in Virginia, or we go down to Florida? They got more beer there than the beer stores here.
Yeah, you think they want to cash in, huh?
Huh? Yeah.
I don't know. These people in Maryland,
what
a state.
I
saw this article. Go ahead. What was you saying?
I just saw the news talking about beer and stuff. The sales of marijuana are superseding the sales of beer and alcohol.
Good Lord.
In the last couple of months.
Well, that's not hard to see because, I think people would louder. You can go to a dispensary. I pass one every day on the way. I pass 2 on the way to work. You could go there, tell them I'm having trouble sleeping. What do? They give you something to help you sleep. You can go there and tell them, I'm having anxiety. They'll give you something to help you with that. If you don't want to smoke, you can do a gummy. You don't want to do a gummy, you eat a chocolate chip cookie or a brownie. They've got that down to a science today. And it's
it just
insane.
Seems like is there that many more people doing it? Is it the cost of it? Like, to say that the sales have gone way more than alcohol seems to be
the other
significant.
Which is insane because alcohol is pretty expensive today.
Yeah. Because
you buy craft beers. I like these mango seltzers at one of our places we love to go to, Rockwell Brewery. He's got 2 locations, the one on East Street in Frederick, and then he's got the one on Riverside Avenue, which I'm going to tonight. They have a really good band, the Curly Brothers. But anyway, it's still, I like these mango seltzers because I'm not a big beer guy anymore. And I got 4 of them for like $13 or something crazy.
That's actually not bad.
No, and they're good. They're good. I can drink 2 of those and I feel pretty good, and it takes the edge off, and that's it. I won't drink any more of them. That's on like a Tuesday though. No, I'm playing.
You only have 2. You only have 2, and then the other 2, and then you have to go get 4 more.
Yeah, good thing to right up a street. That's all I can tell you.
You can walk.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Hey, Youngie, one of the oldest sports known to man will be featured on our show this happy hour afternoon, Friday, May 24th of the year 2024. Our guest is ultra successful Michael Rabil. Yes, that Michael Rabil of the Premier Lacrosse League fame. He's going to talk to us about him and his brother Paul Rabil, who was the number 1 dog in lacrosse for years and years until he actually retired. How they've made a household name out of lacrosse, or they're working very hard to do so. It's a sport that, it's really taken off. It's definitely the state sport here in Maryland. Mm-hmm. The plan is going forward to continue to grow this thing. If you've never watched lacrosse, I highly recommend it. Imagine playing hockey on air with a football complement to it to a certain degree. It's a very skilled sport. You have to be in great shape. We're excited to learn a lot more about America's fastest growing sport because I really feel like it's the fastest growing sport. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. It's taken off, and my son plays in the past 3 years, and it's grown a lot. The tournament, the summer leagues, the tournaments, everything. it's just like you said, it's amazing to watch. And one of the oldest sports, it dates back to the 1100s, 12th century. The Native Americans played it, and just how it's evolved. Europeans developed it, obviously, and then coming, it's primarily on the East Coast. Now, Mike will share with us how they've expanded it out west so that they can have an East and West during conference for the PLL. But it's fun as hell to watch. Like you said, it combines a lot of different sport with hockey, football. There's a little basketball component when you got over and back. I know they don't call it that, but
they do.
And
it's rare that it happens. It happens more at the youth and early high school level, but
it's I love it because it's fast paced, like hockey. There's hitting, and it's engaging. The only thing is, when you get one of those teams, especially I'm speaking of a high school experience that's very dominant, like Urbana, who just won the 4A state championship this week. That was a phenomenal team, and they get up on somebody. It's like they score at will, and it's like face off, pass, shoot, score. You just do that over and over again. It kind of demoralizes the other team.
Yeah,
that's kind of hard because
you got a lot of kids.
Yeah, but you got with the dimensions of the field, you're playing on the football size field, in a little extra room going behind the goalies and whatnot. It's just so spread out. It's hard to cover that area. Mm-hmm. And when they attack that zone and you got shooters rocketing that ball and you got the goalie back over a chest pad and a cup, no other pads. He's like just saying, shoot it. I mean, it's just wild. Those goalies are like the sacrificial lamb. It's amazing.
I don't think those kids who play just started playing though. Like these kids, it's kind of like Vincent's hockey team. These kids, probably about 8 or 9 of them, kids have gone on to what they think are greener pastures for whatever reason. But these kids have played together on this, we call it a select team. We play like 6 tournaments, 5 tournaments a year. And they've played so long together that they beat teams at the A level, even though they only practice about, 5 or 6 times an entire year together. But they know each other so well throughout the course of time that they just, and that sounds like exactly what you get in Urbana with those kids.
And that's the thing with these programs. You have to have a feeder program, Yeah. And that's just like anything, youth football, youth baseball, wrestling, any of these sports, you have to have a feeder program to attract, to develop, and to promote to the next level.
Yeah. I'll be interested in talking to Mike and asking him, well, here's a couple of interesting tidbits. I had no idea. There he is. I'm gonna get right after him. What's going on, Mr. Rabil?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
I was just getting ready to tell the story about how you taught me lacrosse.
Huh. Dude, we have the same haircut now. We have the same haircut now.
Except you're a hell of a lot younger than me, Michael. A lot younger than me.
Better looking too.
Hey, listen, do you remember teaching me the game, you and Paul and those guys back in the day? I had no clue what I was doing. I was just this country bumpkin from Western PA who knew football.
That's all right. We just needed someone who could like go out there and sort of give a fuck about us,
Yeah, I did. I loved you guys, man. I tell you what, my favorite kids have always been from Watkins Mill.
Really?
Did I coach? Yeah, it's hard. It's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know. You guys, your personalities, your connection. I talked to so many kids from Watkins Mill from the whole way back to when you were there, up to when I left in the mid 2000s and went to Rockville. There's something about the kids from there, the young people from there, just were easy to build a long-term relationship with. I can't tell you why. I don't have any idea.
It's good to hear. Yeah. I heard the school's kind of in the dumps, but I have no connective tissue to the school at all. I wish I did.
Michael, all these schools are changing in Montgomery County. It's it just happens that way. It just happens that way.
It's weird, man. I have buddies of mine who are like the high schools, like, they stay connected to them, and all high schools aren't created equally, right? You have like boarding schools and private schools and public schools. And we were a public school in Montgomery Village with like, a lower socioeconomic demographic, but you would think that the principal or someone would kind of go through the alumni network and be like, here's some people that we should like build a relationship with.
Yeah.
And there's just none of that coming from that school.
Are you no longer in the area?
No,
Michael's
I'm in California.
You're in
I'm
California.
But I would go. When Coach Torrance was still there. I mean, he's been retired probably for maybe 7 years, something like that. But
yeah,
probably 10, 12 years ago, he had me back to talk to his class. Every year I would go into one of his classes and talk, and it's not about like, it's more of like, what do we do to like, the weight room is still like the shitty weight room that like didn't do much for us. And like, I don't know that there are some people that went to that school, especially when it first started, that are doing some cool things that could try to like get in there and inspire. Anyway, man, I'm glad you feel that way at Watkins Mill. I'm kind of embarrassed when I tell people I went to Watkins Mill, because it's just like I have no connective tissue other than it made me tough as fuck, because that school was tough.
Yeah.
And I think that I have pride in being a product of a public high school, but man, I was like 1 year away from like my grades were like this. And then like my extracurricular activities were like this over time, right? Like,
yeah.
I was lucky to go to Dartmouth.
How's your mom and dad? They doing good?
Yeah, they're good, man. They're good. Thanks for asking.
And your sister?
She's all right. She's trying to figure out life, but she's grinding it out.
It's not easy, Michael. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out it my old ass self.
Yeah.
So what's up? So tell me. So are we live right now?
Oh yeah, we're live.
Oh,
absolutely.
God. I didn't know
Yeah. It's great stuff, man. You might as well wear it on your sleeve, baby. You always did. Yeah, you were one of my favorite kids when I came there, because you were tough, just like you said.
Yeah.
You love the weight room.
All right, we're live. All right, I didn't know we were live. All right, I got to get more buttoned up here. I thought we were just hanging out. Hanging out. I didn't mean to trash Watkins Mill, but
no, it's okay. I mean, the weight room is exactly like you left it.
Yeah,
the school's exactly like you left it.
We can edit it out. Don't worry.
The communities, Michael. The communities
on YouTube. Let's edit all that out.
Yeah. The community has changed. You know that. Joey Hooks works very hard.
Love
with
Joey.
The young people.
He's one of the best people still active in it. Yeah, he pushes.
Yeah,
it.
He works very hard at it.
I played with him. Joey and I played together.
Matter of fact, my son with the 480 club, my son goes to Seneca and he works with Joey. They go over to Watkins Mill Elementary behind there, and they mentor a bunch of elementary school kids. So he's doing a lot of good stuff down there. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, no, man. If we could get like stamp out like 10 more Joeys,
yep,
it would help. It would help for sure.
Absolutely. He's done so much for so many of those kids there. Mike, why'd you end up choosing going to Dartmouth?
Dude, I was just telling this story to someone today, because someone over at ESPN who's has an intern that's going to Dartmouth next year. And man, it was honestly, speaking of Watkins Mill, there was a Spanish teacher. I forget what her name was. She went to Dartmouth. So she was like, hey, you have pretty good grades. You're pretty good at football. And I heard your mom is, helping really push the school and recording so backing up a second. My mom actually, we didn't have the football team, varsity football team. We were a good football team. Won a state championship, I think, our second year there, Watkins Mill, when I wasn't there. Yeah. I mean, we weren't recording all of the games. We didn't have film. And so my mom I guess the rumor sort of spilled through that she was paying one of the guys from St. John Newman, the Catholic church that we all went to go and stand there with a recorder, and then he would print those on a DVD. She would take them, put in an envelope, and send them to all of these Ivy League schools. And then she was talking to the career services and was like, I think Mike can look at an Ivy League school. He has pretty good grades, tested fine, and he's pretty good at football. And then sort of like she heard about it. She came to me that my mom was doing this, and I was like, oh. And then there was an assistant coach on the football team, coach, he had an Italian last name. I forget what his name was. He had this. He was maybe Coach John something. He was only a couple.
Was it Deanna?
Yeah.
Mike Deanna.
Yeah. So yeah. So he comes to me and he goes, "Hey, I heard your mom sending tapes out to Brown and to Dartmouth and to Princeton." And I was like, "Yeah, but Coach, I don't want to. I want to go to William and Mary because Chris Kimber went there. I want to.
Yeah, I remember Kimber went there.
Yeah, I want to play at Maryland. Villanova or something local." And he goes, "Let me tell you something. This is like this crazy. It's like how important it is to the work you're talking about, Joey's doing, or getting in front of a high school kid." He was like, "Let me tell you something. If you have a chance to go to an Ivy League school, you should do it. If you get in,
yeah,
I'll tell you why." And he was like, "One day, you and your buddies from Dartmouth are going to be sitting around," and this sticks in my head, sitting on leather couches, smoking cigars, talking about the investments you're making and the businesses you're building together. And I was like, man, I don't know anything about that. But like that, he was able to illustrate and tell a story that literally stuck in my head that immediately elevated those schools above other schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dartmouth showed a lot of interest, and they were like all over it, came and visited me, and ended up going and visiting it. I remember getting on a flight, on Southwest flight from BWI. My mom was like, "Mom, I'm not flying to college. I'm just going to drive to college like all of my other friends." She's like, "Shut up. You have a chance to go to the school. They might get you in, you idiot." She didn't say that, but she was just like, "We're going." And then it got there and it was magical. And it was like one of those things that it was just luck of my mom really pushing me. And those stories of the Spanish teacher approaching me and the assistant football coach, telling the story of what it could be portrayed in my mind. And honestly, man, like, I remember when I accepted and, told people I was going to Dartmouth, people walking to the mill were making fun of me. They were like calling it Dartmouth. No one had ever heard of it. So I kind of have this weird love-hate thing with Watkins Mill because it was
well,
tough.
right there.
Yeah. But at the same time, it made me tough, like I said. So I feel lucky to go there.
You chose there because the guy painted a picture and you just saw yourself there. You fell in love. Where else were you getting looks to play ball?
Well, William and Mary said I could walk on. They weren't going to offer me a scholarship, so they're going to get me in if I wanted to walk on. I was like, I want a scholarship. Georgetown was like pretty big. Cornell made an offer. Let's see, Cornell, what was Lehigh, like a bunch of, and then like some D3 NESCAC schools.
And you said your grades were going like this? I don't think your
grades. Well, I started out 4.0. First 2 years I had a 4.0. And then I finished with like a 3.6. So in high school. And so they did go down. It was like 3.8, 3.6.
That had nothing to do with hanging out with Kimber, who was a crazy man himself.
It had everything to do to hang out with Kimber. That was the problem.
One of the best athletes I ever remember, not necessarily coaching because I was doing a lot of JV, but man, he was tremendous, wasn't he?
I tried to get him to convert. I tried to get him to transfer to Dartmouth, and that was before the portal had been way easier because he wasn't getting that much burn at William and Mary. And I was like, dude, you could come tear it up at Dartmouth because Princeton, and Harvard both made him offers. And Ivy League, he would have been an amazing Ivy League football player, but he was already locked in, so he couldn't get him.
Mike, did he end up going to the military?
Mm-hmm. He's still in the Marines. Yeah, I just talked to him this weekend. Actually, I was on the phone with him. Yeah,
he's still in the Marines.
Yeah, he's still.
Oh, God bless him.
Reserve. Yeah. He's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so guys, we're here with the CEO, founder of the PLL. You went to Dartmouth, played football. Mike, why not lacrosse? Or what made, did you have any power struggle there? Saying, nah, I want to do this, that, or what made you decide?
I totally did, man. Well, see, the thing about I just noticed we got to get you guys some some gear, some PLL gear for your backgrounds. I'm gonna
Definitely.
I'm gonna send you guys some merch.
I was looking for my Whip Snake shirt. I do have one.
You want some Whip Snake stuff? All right, I got you some Maryland Whip Snake stuff.
DC, baby.
Please tell me you're not a Redwoods fan now, right?
I don't know, man. I can't be a fan for a team. I got to root for them all, right?
Yeah.
At the league level,
I guess.
So look, when I was, I was better at football earlier than I was at lacrosse, and then I got good at lacrosse, and then it was my senior spring. Like, I was really good at lacrosse my senior spring, not really good, but like I'm all second team All Met, first team All Gazette, all that stuff, and All American, USA All American, and I was already committed to Dartmouth. I committed my senior end of the senior fall, so senior winter, I think I committed. And then, I was just got like really in shape, and we had like great guys like Coach Mark, and we had another coach. I forget what his name was. He was a former Green Beret, and he came down there. Remember him?
Yeah. Dude was an air traffic controller.
Is that what he was? He did something.
Yeah, he was an air traffic controller.
Dude, he got us in shape, and I just had a great, we had a great senior year run. And look, the thing about football, the difference between football and lacrosse, is I loved playing lacrosse. I never loved playing football. I was good at football. Football is, and maybe I'm just soft. So like, I would be interested in having some people on, you're hearing from your guys, because I know, Mark, you played football, but football, I was like, before, at least in college and even in high school, man, it was just like, I would get so much stress before games. So you're playing lineman, I played D tackle at Dartmouth, like it was 300 pounds. I would be studying these guys all day long, and you watch their film, you know what they look like, their height, their weight. And then you go up and you stand across them for 3.5 hours, and you're in a fist fight. You're just fighting. Yeah. And that's intense, man. I mean, I know we have helmets and stuff on, but boom, and it's just on all game long. Where lacrosse is, there's some hitting, but it's team game. It's like fun. It's fluid. It's about who's more athletic. It's just more strategy. It's a beautiful game, and it's really a team game. And in football, I could have an amazing game as a D tackle, and we could lose by, either a field goal or by 10 points. And it doesn't really matter, because it's just, people are just like, do your job. When lacrosse, it's hard for like one person to really kind of take over. So I always felt that I loved playing lacrosse. And so then what happened was, after my senior year, the coach at Dartmouth called, the lacrosse coach called the football team and was like, "Hey, I heard you got some guy as a USA Lacrosse All-American. Maybe we can talk about splitting him. He's already in the school." And he never reached out to me, but I got an immediate call from our football coaches, and we're like, "Hey, you're not thinking about playing lacrosse, are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I haven't really gotten to that, but I love it." And he was like, "No, we got you into school for football. You're playing football.
Oh, wow.
And you're not doing both." And so that was kind of the story. But during spring ball practices, when the lacrosse team was practicing, I would go with my pads and sit down and watch the guys play and pick up a stick and play with them. Like, well, I still have my football pads on. It was fun.
Mike, I remember you lost quite a bit of weight between your last season of football and when we played lacrosse that year. You were a long pole. Yeah, you lost quite a bit of weight.
Yeah.
How the hell did you get that back?
Dude, I'm still trying to do that.
Well, hey, brother, as you get older, it won't go away. It just comes back in droves.
Bro, it's crazy. I got like fast. I'm like, checking out my macros. I'm trying to get my steps in with a weighted vest. It's just like constant trying to keep the weight off.
And then you peek over your shoulder at Paul, and he's all sleek, still six-pack looking dude.
Full head of hair. Yeah, it's just a mess, man. Nice.
But you're the brains.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So tell me about this show. How long you guys been doing it? Like, hype? Let me understand this show. Hype it up for me.
Okay, so we've been doing the Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei and the Barbershop crew for probably a year and a half. I started out doing this in 2020. We went on COVID, and I
remember you
always wanted to do communications. Yeah, and I always wanted to do communications, and I couldn't do it. My wife said, "You're such a big bullshitter. Why don't you try a podcast?" And it just took off. Like, it took off for me. And I've had like a boatload of guests. I've had a boatload of people come on with me. We're all over the place now. We have a Roku station that we're on. through through Elite Sports Network, Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. It's been a lot of fun. We just locked in a guy for golf. We got a guy coming on from the Indianapolis Indians to talk about Paul Skeens, the number one pitcher in Major League Baseball, who just came up for the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're having a lot of fun with it. Normally there's two other guys on with us, but they're away this weekend. One is at Cooperstown, ironically. He is at his uncle was in the Negro Leagues, and he's in the Hall of Fame, and they were having like a ceremony up there. And the other guy, well, he went camping. You'd love that guy, man. What a personality Chops has. But that's where we are. We just made our summer schedule. Yeah.
I love it. This is great, man. I love the vibe you guys have.
Just love talking sports. Appreciate you coming on here, man. This is awesome.
I feel like I'm sure you guys are that person. I feel like it's like a comfortable setting. You guys, as talent set that setting, but it feels like, approachable, comfortable, not like an uptight, podcast that's trying to grind me out. So
no, we don't want to hear you do that. I don't need to hear you. Terry doesn't need to hear you do that. In fact, Michael, we're going to a local distillery on Sunday, McClintock's, and we're talking guys who played professional sports that are vets.
That's cool.
And we're going to do it on location at McClintock's Distillery. If you're a vodka or a gin drinker, I highly recommend these guys. They're in downtown Frederick, but it's always a lot of fun.
Let us know your favorite.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely.
There's a bunch of PLL guys who, unfortunately for our country, they've had to. But unfortunately for the league, because Naval Academy and the Army have big lacrosse programs, so we'll draft them. They'll play for us like a year or two, and then they have to go on active duty. And sometimes we've had them, like Johnny Surdick. He was Army, one of the great defensemen. He's active duty. Brendan Nickturn, we just drafted him a couple of years ago. He's had to go active duty. He was from Army. And we've even had guys like Matt Landis. He was a defenseman for the Redwoods. He is now a Navy SEAL, right? There's guys who just played professionally with us and end up becoming active duty. And if we can get them back, that'd be great. But yeah, that's a really cool story to tell. I'm glad you guys are doing that.
We got to get these guys back. We got to get this sport rolling, man. It's beautiful. Like I said, my kids play, and just got an email today from Marcus Holman. Holman. He's doing a camp here in Olney. Does that ring a bell?
Coach, what's his name?
Holman, Marcus Holman.
Marcus Holman?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. He plays for the Cannons, Boston Cannons. Yeah. I was like, really? He's doing a camp in Olney. Yeah, I guess he lives in Baltimore. Fantastic. Yeah. So he's great.
I'm gonna sign my son up to do that.
Oh man, Marcus is fantastic. He used to be a coach at Utah too. And his dad was a coach. He's assistant coach, and his dad's now the coach of the Cannons.
And Tom Schreiber is going to help him out, and Jordan Wolf.
Damn, all-star lineup. Tom Schreiber's reigning MVP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of the league.
Wow,
yeah,
I did not know that.
Utah Archers.
That's excellent, Mike. Your sport is going to a whole nother level, because the more you watch and hear of all the drama and stuff and all the other sports, the more it turns me off.
Yeah,
it really does. I keep talking to my son about watching lacrosse. We watch it on TV. He's deep into playing baseball and ice hockey, but cool. I enjoy it. I think it's a very fast sport. It's got so many dynamic aspects of it. That year that I coached with you guys, like, that was one of the best years I've ever coached anything. That was so fun. My problem was I was an intense son of a bitch back then. I'm a little more mellow now as I've gotten older. Little bit.
Not really.
That didn't matter. We like that. I think high school kids need I think, I don't know if you guys know the stats, but I think I saw a stat there was like 30 to 40% of maybe it was around 30% of high school teachers are male. And we, and especially me, speaking from a young boy's perspective in high school, I was, obviously great dad, and he was around, but like having more of especially in the field, male presence there to be a voice of authority, but also a seriousness and compassion. And I always remembered you as someone that would be serious, took it really seriously, intense, but then could pull us to the side and have a conversation. And that's really valuable. I think at that age, 15, 14 to 18, you're really in a formidable part of just sort of understanding the world. And as a young boy, having men to be able to help you through that and teach you those life lessons on the field, I think is really important. And then you certainly did that for us. So I
appreciate that. I really appreciate you saying that. I've always been very passionate about helping young guys grow up. Just kids in general, but I like watching young men grow up into good, strong men who are successful. I put a lot of time and effort into it still today in my 26th year of teaching. I don't coach anymore because I have a boy who's 14 and playing multiple sports, but it's interesting that you say that, because from that perspective, we need more people like that.
It's hard. It's hard coaching now, though. It's really hard because, like you said, he could lay into your ass and you knew that he had your best interest at heart, right? But now you do that and they're like, Mom, you won't believe what the coach said. And it wasn't out of any malicious intent. It was to motivate. It was to get you to your best game. It's changed, man. It's tough. Right.
Totally. It's hard. It's hard to say. Everyone wants to. I remember every older generation always says the next generation isn't as tough or isn't as it works as hard. But yeah, it's hard for me to say, because unless you're in those, life is just different for that generation. They grew up differently, right? And I think that I don't disagree with you that it is. I've heard, especially from college coaches, that coaching. You can't coach sort of in that militaristic way or sort of over authoritative tone in nature. You need to be a lot softer with the kids. One, because that's just the generation. Two, they have leverage. They can transfer the next year if they don't like you. And so NIL, right? And so maybe it's a good thing, but at the same time, I remember, and I sound like such an old head when I say this stuff, but Coach V, who was our line coach, right? He was a guy that wasn't the most warm and fuzzy, but you just had respect for him. And I remember when Eric Knoll went down in our playoffs, went on to Penn State and was Gatorade Player of the Year. And he went down in our playoffs and tore his scapula. And I had to go in and I think we lost to Severna Park, and they had this linebacker that was I just couldn't block him. He was all-state linebacker. And it was one of those things where it was like me trying to go and block a Darnell Dockett. It's just not going to really happen. And you only could, Eric Knoll was the only one who could do it. And we lost that game. And it was my sophomore year. And I wrote a letter to Coach V. And I just wrote this long letter after that. I felt like I literally lost the game. And I was just so disappointed. And anyway, I think it was good for our relationship, but I wonder if the sort of next gen of kids feels that way when they have a bad game. They can feel the weight of it and what the relationship is with coaches.
Yeah.
I'd just generally be interested, because I'm not on the coaching side. I'm more on the business side, but I do, coaching pro. we spent a lot of time with our head coaches and pros at the PLL. It's a different dynamic than coaching high school and college. I don't know what you guys think.
I got to be honest with you. Coaching kids today is done with kid gloves.
Yeah.
I can't do it, Mike. I just can't. I can't do it. I'm not a kid glove kind of guy. I don't have to yell and scream anymore because I'm so knowledgeable about what I'm doing. I don't have to get my point across like that. If you can't do it, you can go ahead and sit down over there. I don't care. I'll get somebody else that at least wants to try. But it's all about kid gloves with kids today. I think Terry hit it right on the nose that, the kids are so sensitive that they'll run home and say, oh, coach got up my ass about whatever. And it's not about getting up your ass. It's about making you want to be more productive as an athlete. My son has a 20-year-old coach on his travel team. My son's 14, Mike. He has a guy 6 years older than him. And recently he's had a couple issues where the coach has just been like, no, you're going to the bench, but he's yelling it from the field. And my son's getting himself worked up. And I said, number one, if you've done something that the coach doesn't agree with, he has every right to do that. He's the coach. Number two, you need to follow those directions. Don't give me any crap. And the coach is young. He doesn't have anybody guiding him. So he and I talked, and I said, here's some of the things you can do, because I've done this forever. And he's like, I appreciate you just taking the time to teach me that. I think we have a lot of young coaches today. If you would come back to Montgomery County and you would see the age of some of these coaches coaching on the sidelines, head coaches, you would be like, holy shit, these guys are really young, because none of the old dogs want to do it. There's so many laws and rules and so many stipulations that it's changed the dynamics of high school sports.
That's crazy. I mean, I hear you and I understand it. Yeah, it's crazy how sports changes and it continues to change.
You
keep doing your thing there.
That's really interesting. The leadership position where you are, and what's your involvement? You started to say about your involvement with the coaches.
Yeah.
Do you have like just weekly, monthly meetings, or you tell them how to structure all that? What do you do?
The way that we structure things. So, the PLL, we own all 8 teams we have. We started with 6, we have 8. So it would be like if the NBA owned the teams, but they didn't have individual owners. So we own the league and the teams. And the reason for that right now is it allows us to make faster and more strategic decisions from a business perspective. That gives us scale, gives us the ability to make distribution changes, allows us to sell assets to sponsors, make investments in places that we think make sense. Without having to jump through a bunch of red tape. Right. So, if you have a bunch of different owners own a team, they have a say in league decisions because they own a percentage of the league. They have a lot of say in what their team does. They own certain assets versus what you own. They have to hit their schedule. You need to weave that into the broadcast partner. We start with the broadcast partner and we say, what are the best windows that we can justify giving to our league? And then let's position our schedule around that. Right. Rather than sort of trying to reverse engineer it and being like, here are the home away schedules for our team owners. What do you guys have? And that's a lot harder because then it's this big matrix on the back end of what fits. How do we prioritize our biggest things? So back to your original question, Terry, we have a team called Lacrosse Product. They spend time and oversee coaches, players, referees, on field, integrity, anything that has to do within the field, on the field, and then also off the field, but with those constituents, they run, right? So it'll be like back end travel, making sure that, hotels and food's adequate, everything, right? We have to pay for all of that. Marketing deals, when we bring a player in as part of a sponsorship we sell, like everything goes through them. They have weekly calls with coaches, and then they do like monthly with all the coaches. And it can be anything from, making sure that they're communicating the way that we want them communicating with their teams, or handling issues that they may have, or giving them updates on the company and the business and the league, adjustments, new rule changes, getting feedback. During the season, it's really intense, right? Because wins and losses happen. Sometimes stats, sometimes players are upset, or there's have to be fines, right? So that's when it gets really, really intense in the communications. But essentially, we try to be there for the coach. Like first couple of years, I was very, very involved because we didn't have a lacrosse product team. Yeah, it was just like me and Paul sort of managing it, and we were doing all the calls with the coaches and players, and we've got a little bit more scale as we try to really focus on the commercial enterprise, but we still tap in and spend time with them because they have the responsibility. They're wearing 2 hats. And we decided this, and we'll see how they continue to do it. They wear 2 hats. They're the coach, but they're also the GM. Right. That's hard to do. Not a lot of coaches can do that. Some coaches do it. Belichick, Phil Jackson. Tough. Yeah. Tough. Because you got to be able to like coach the locker room, and you're the one making the decisions around
financials.
Salary. Yeah.
Mike, could you model this after? Because this is so unique from that perspective, though. You don't see this with professional sports organizations.
We got the lucky benefit, man, of being able to do it after everyone else has kind of been in the space, right? So, we started in 2018, 2019 was our first season, but 2018 is when we first raised money for it. We are students of sports, of the sports industry. I think sports is really, over the last, what I've seen, 24 months, 2 years, call it, becoming an investable asset class. When we got into it, it wasn't. We were like really early, and no one had really thought about, hey, you can invest in and own and think about a sports league and teams in a sport that has product market fit as an investable asset, just like you would think about. It's just like IP investing. Like it's investing in a brand, it's investing in music. Like people, there are consumers for it. And now what you're seeing is, NBA takes on private equity money. The NFL is considering doing it. I think sports is becoming, I don't think it is becoming an investable asset class of even not only just, private equity and the private markets, but the public markets. Like you could go on the stock exchange right now and buy a chunk of Atlanta Braves if you wanted. You could buy a chunk of F1 if you wanted with Liberty Media owning both of those, but breaking them out into two separate stocks. Man U, I think they're listed on the LSE. I think you can even buy a piece of Chelsea. You're going to start to see more of these asset classes as something that there's capital in and being invested in. So because of that, back to your question, and because of there's more literature being written, we have the advantage of being able to read and trying to make certain decisions. Like we're a tour-based model, right? So NASCAR tours, F1 tours, WWE tours. We didn't create that, but we also looked at, the advantages of those models and truly being single entity. We're the only team-based sport in North America that's fully single entity. Every other team-based sport is owned by owners. WWE, single entity. F1, it's a hybrid. PBR is single entity. PGA is single entity. So a lot of individual sports, UFC, single entity. There's no team-based sports where there's teams that have single entity, but we think for right now, for our growth and trying to grow fast, it's advantageous.
Do you see any teams getting added in the near future?
Selling teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable at some point we're going to have to sell them. I mean, we raise money, we got to return capital. So it's one of the levers to be able to return capital is selling teams for, market price. And so that's why I'm really focused on trying to drive as much league revenue, not only so we can pay players more, but we can also justify, the appropriate and market price for teams that then we can then, offer to the marketplace and are of value to sports owners. So I think it's inevitable. I don't know the timeline.
No,
something we're working on in the background, though.
Your $725 salary cap per team, right?
$725,000.
$725,000.
It's a little more than that, a little more. Plus, we have marketing addendums. It's actually I think it's probably a dated number, but we try to. We've been increasing it every year. We have a marketing addendum from the league as well. The meaning, we have basically a slush fund that we. And with the players to promote their teams in the league, on top of those salary budgets.
Is that salary cap just for the players, or is that part of the coaching too?
That's a budget. It's not the word cap. We try to work closely with our player advisory board to structure that and justify it. But it is it's just for players. It's separate one for coaches.
Yeah. So
go ahead, Terry. I'm sorry.
I was going to say 8 teams now. I love what you guys did this year.
Yeah.
Connecting with the city, and I like how you explained it. Taking a show on the road and trying to build that fan base. I mean, you got one right here. You got 2 right here. But we went to Audi Stadium. I think it was 2 years ago. Saw 4 teams, and that was just really, really cool. If you were to project in the future, and there's no timeline here, what is your goal in regards to expansion? How many teams would you like to have to make this, the thing?
It's a good question, man. I think there's 2 parts there's 2 or 3 parts to it. The first is parity.
Yeah.
When you're a league, an emerging league, right? You want the games to be as competitive as possible. Why? Because more people watch for longer. The more people that watch for longer, the more engagement, and then you can go and monetize that engagement with your network partner, with sponsors, sell more tickets. People know that when they watch game, they watch them as close. The fastest way for any sport to have to change the channel is for them to be, you know, a blowout game. People just turn it off, right? People don't, there's nothing interesting about that, right? So parity is like in competition is really important. Second thing is, you know, in a tour model, we get business efficiencies where we can bring everyone in our staff and all of our production, our partners at ESPN, to one location. Whereas if you shot and you have more teams, you have to create a couple different tours. You have to spread those resources to multiple locations. So there's cost in that. There's operational complexity in that, and you can't sort of like do bulk negotiation pricing to go into one location. F1 does that really well. They're really good at like getting cities to pay for the whole show to come to them, right?
Yeah.
So there's part of that as well as negotiating with cities to bring this, you know, business for an entire extended weekend to their market, which creates a lot of tourism value. Businesses are supported, hotels are full, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
You lose that. The third piece is at the league, we don't get a lot of P&L value for more teams right now. And so meaning like if we were a trade association like the NBA, or just let's take the WNBA, for example. They just sold the rights to Toronto like a day or so ago. The news just broke today. 151 million or something. Guess where that money goes? Back to all the owners. If we just start another team, we're not selling it to anyone. So there's no monetary event, right? So what we're doing is adding cost to the business, and then you're potentially driving less parity to the competition on the field. And I think that when our expansion really ramps is when we move into a place of, you know, selling teams and moving more towards that model. And, you know, the last piece I'd say is like, it's pro sports. It's, no one likes to say this, so I'll be the bad guy and say it, but it's, you know, you're not guaranteed a roster spot because you're good in college. We've done things like build the championship series, which we've done in DC or Springfield, Virginia, last 2 years, which is out of season tournament, top 4 teams make it, sixes style. There's been a lot of, because sixes is the Olympic style. There's been a lot of like guys who've gotten a shot at those rosters because there's no long poles, there's no face-off guys. So I think it's about trying to thread the needle. I gave you all the business cases, but also knowing that there are a lot of good players out there. Yeah. And trying to find more slots and opportunities for those guys.
Yeah.
How was your draft?
You're going to expand. I know it. You're going to expand. You got 3 teams in the West. You know, you got 5 on the East Coast, basically. You're going to, I know it's growing. It's a growing sport.
Yeah. How'd you feel about your draft last week?
It's great.
Was it last week or the week before?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, it's all good. 2 weeks ago. It's a really, really attractive draft class. I don't think we've had as many stars drafted for a while. I mean, it's just chock full of stars, right? You got Brennan O'Neill, who's, you know, a generational talent, Duke. You got Schellenberger, who's kind of like this laser focused, smooth player from UVA, all-time scorer. And you have, you know, Pat Kavanaugh, who's, you know, a fan favorite in the entire lacrosse ecosystem. Go to Boston, drop down to 6, which was crazy to me. Then you got Liam Edelman, the goalie who's probably a generational talent in goal for Notre Dame. And so what I thought was interesting was that the GMs were really focused, and coaches, on finding the right fit for their team rather than just trying to grab names. And that's why you saw like this variation of guys moving around. Like the New York Adams had a guy who retired at goalie, who's Jack Concan, is a great guy who retired this year after like 9 years playing, and they had a goalie slot. So they, you know, used their early draft pick to go after Lee.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great overall. I'm excited. You know, there's like the Final Four coming up this weekend. And there'll be a bunch for you know, I think it's Denver, UVA, Notre Dame, and who's in Maryland. And so there's a bunch of guys who are going to be in the league next coming on June 1st, playing this weekend. So it'll be good to get more eyeballs on them.
Does that tug at your heartstrings when you hear Maryland?
A little bit, man. Yeah. I mean, my parents are still there, so
they're down in the village still, right?
Still in the village, still same house I grew up in. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
God bless them.
Wow. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for see. I'd love to get you guys out to a game, especially when we're in Baltimore. Tickets on me. I'll get you guys some merch too.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Since you want to ask that last question, I know I want to let Michael go here. He's been more than generous at this time.
I have two last questions, but you could mention this briefly, because I think we would be remiss if we did not mention your brother at all. The Way of the Champion, Pain, Persistence.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, if you haven't read the book, you got to get it. It's everywhere. Mike's brother, Paul, who played in the league and is co-owner with him. But is there anything you want to share about the book, your brother, anything that we'd like the fans to know here?
Yeah, man. Paul's a product of Montgomery Village too, man. So, and I think he's the best lacrosse player to ever play. People like to debate that, but that's why sports is great. You can debate things. But look at his resume. Look what he did.
Yeah.
He's a champion. And I think that he wanted to write a book because he drew on a lot of other inspirations to build not only a career as a multiple time champion in college and pro and international stage, but also, really focusing on building this business. And, we're far from champions at building this business. We're far from, saying like we're successful, I think. But we work really hard and we try really hard, and we're building something special. We know that. And I think that the book is taking advice and snippets and case studies from a lot of other champions and people who have had massive success in their respective fields, putting it all into 3 different separate buckets of, growing up, playing sports, and you're professional. Yeah. And then it's like a really cool book that you can constantly go back to. If you're looking for a pick me up, you can read the table of contents, and it's just a way to get like snippets of wisdom. And he did it with Ryan Holiday, who's obviously a great author. And it's just, I'm proud of him. I had nothing to do with it. I'm proud of the work. I've read the book, and I thought it was better than I was expecting. So I appreciate you bringing that up, Terry.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I followed you guys on social media, and I saw his one post about when he was in high school, excuse me. And I think a freshman or something, he was at a camp, and a coach said, I will tell you how to, make your way into any college you want. All you have to do is 100 shots every day. And just the video that was created for that was awesome.
That was awesome.
I know that's included in the book there somewhere.
Michael, I watched the what was like the 30 for 30 on your brother. That was an amazing piece on him. Just brought such a smile to my face, because I remember your brother as a freshman, and man, I wanted him to play football so bad. And I know he had medical issue with his ear, and your mom and dad were like, no, you're not doing that. It's not happening. And I was like, seriously, Paul, come on, man. He would have been ridiculous.
So good. I know. Bill Belichick tried to get him to try out. I was with him a couple times when Bill talked to him about it. He wanted him to try out for the Patriots, but he ended up focusing on lacrosse, and probably wouldn't even be here able to talk to you guys if he didn't make that decision, a hard decision just to go. He wanted to be the best in a sport rather than, trying to eke his way into a roster spot in another. So,
yeah. So thank you so much for being here. The one last thing is we're very passionate about sports, especially I am about lacrosse, especially because my son plays. Any words of wisdom you have for our listeners who may be young, aspiring lacrosse players?
Yeah, I would say that this goes for lacrosse players or anyone playing any sport, or frankly, anything you're doing is, I lost a lot of football games in college, a ton. And I wish I won more, obviously. And finally Dartmouth's back to winning, but, I won I was fortunate enough to win a fair amount of lacrosse games in high school, but I think about the lessons I learned and I see from the guys in the PLL, if I could distill into one thing, is leaving it all on the field and truly, like, if you are giving it everything you have, and I used to tell myself this before games, no matter if we won or lost, I could hold my head high. And I think that is something that you can see when a player is out there playing whatever sport he or she is playing, and you can tell the ones who really leave it all on the line, really exhaust themselves, and it's out there. And I think the outcome matters less. And I think the lessons from being a great teammate, doing everything you can to try to win, doing your best, getting better every week, all those things are sort of summarized and leaving it all on the field. So that's the advice I always try to give, is just like focus less on the outcome and focus more on just leaving everything you have on the field, and you will walk out off that field or court with your head held high.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Hey, Michael, I'm gonna thank you again for just making some time. I know you and I have been trying to connect for a couple years.
Yeah, man. Sorry it took me so long.
No, no apologies necessary. I know what you're doing. I am so proud of you and Paul in the direction you've gone. Your parents are incredible people for raising two young men like you guys. I truly honored that I got to coach you guys. I do brag about it to our lacrosse kids. I'm like, I don't really know shit about lacrosse, but the one thing I know is I coached the Rabil brothers many moons ago. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, kind of,
Yeah, you did. But, I appreciate that, man.
And the one thing I want to do is I want to thank you. This is probably like 3 years ago. I had a young man whose parents got separated, and it was really hard on this kid. And he's a big time lacrosse kid. And I hit you up, and Paul made a nice video for this kid. And if people don't understand what a great person, an athlete, professional athlete, and a person like Paul can be, Paul sent him that, and it was just an amazing thing. The kid really took it to heart, and it meant so much to him. So, that just shows you guys are good people. You're not just professional lacrosse players, or you don't own an organization that, you get where I'm coming from. I don't need to spill my guts there.
No, appreciate you sharing that story. It means a lot. I think, I remember you asking me that, but I had forgotten it, and appreciate you bringing that up. And, Paul, we try to really, really spend our time with people that hopefully we can make an impact. And frankly, like, you made an impact on me, Coach. So if I have endless amount of favors back for you. So I'm just glad you're still in the ecosystem, still pushing, using your voice, and inspiring the next generation. So anything we can do to help, man, I appreciate it. And I appreciate your story and allowing me to jump on your show. And good to meet you, Terry.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Here's a little inside. Terry's my nephew, Michael.
Is he?
He's my nephew. His mom's 18 years older than me, so we grew up like brothers.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How cool is
that? Yep. Hey, Michael, thanks again. I'm gonna put you backstage so we can wrap up, and we can chat for a few minutes afterwards. So thanks again.
That'd be great. Awesome.
Hey, oh my God. Like, that was
amazing.
Incredible. You're talking to somebody who is his business is growing in leaps and bounds, him and his brother, because of a lot of reasons, but they think their way through each and everything they do to make sure the next step is going to be the successful step. And I'm sure somewhere along the line they've hit snags. I know we didn't get into that, but I didn't want to get into that. I wanted a positive outcome from him. And that's what we built there. It was just fun to talk to him after 20 years, to be honest with you.
Yeah. You could tell they do have a solid business plan, but at the heart of it, they're people centric. And that's what they have the best interest in mind right now. And so it was really cool. And I got goosebumps talking to him.
He's just the great family, mom and dad. Paul's a great young man. I can't say enough positive things. Hey, let me wrap this up for us. I'm so excited that we got to do this finally with Michael. Connect with us here on the Original Sports Podcast by checking out our webpage, podpage.com, Original Sports Podcast with Mark Maradei. Like our Facebook page. Check us out on X. I can't say Twitter anymore because it's not Twitter anymore. And reach us on Snapchat. All of those are O.S.P with M&M. You can also follow us on Instagram. You can check out our TikToks, and you can watch all of our episodes. All of that stuff is Original Sports Podcast. I'd like to give a shout out to our networks that we are part of, the Let's Talk Sports Network, Sideline Sports Net, Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, which is ESEN. We also are on Tuesday nights from 9 to 10 on Roku on the ESEN channel. Hey, feel free to let us know if you have any comments, questions, even suggestions for a potential future guest by emailing us at originalsportspodcast@gmail.com. Big shout out to our guy, Steve Medley, for doing our voice intro. Charlie Hodgson for doing our music. Join us on Sunday, you guys. This Sunday, May 26th, we will be doing a live show from McClintock's Distillery. Thanks for joining us tonight.